History has always fascinated us with its stories and mysteries. Archaeologists have excavated many objects that from time to time have changed our perspective of the past. These artifacts have even questioned our existence and the very fabrics of reality. Men have discovered jewels, weapons, scripts, human remains, and many other kinds of stuff from beneath our feet, locked in secret chambers or hidden in plain sights. Some of these objects or artifacts are popular because they belong to personalities or eras of great importance. Others got their fame for their artistic or materialistic brilliance. But some of these artifacts are famous, but for some sinister reason, or I should say infamous for some sinister reasons. These artifacts have such a reputation that no collector dares to possess or even touch them. These cursed artifacts have somehow survived the whirlpool of time. After haunting many, now these artifacts rest in museums or laboratories. Number 5. The Catskill Crown. The Catskill Mountains, New York, is famous for its inhabitants who have practiced black magic for generations. Many avoid this eerie mountain and dare not to wander into the forests. But two hikers who were trekking along a beaten path through the woods came upon a cave. Inside that cave was a statue with 6 rusty nails hammered into its eyes and a noose around its neck. The intrigued hikers decided to bring the artifact back to their home. Soon they found it was the most egregious mistake of their life. It all started with random knockings and banging at the doors. Then they started waking up at night, feeling like that someone was watching them. And every time they would get the pungent smell of pond water coming out of nowhere. The abnormal activities started escalating when the doll used to change room on its own at night. The hikers then decided to hand it to the Traveling Museum of Paranormal and Occult. Husband and wife, Greg Newkirk and Dana Matthews, the owner, also reported paranormal incidents, like muddy footprints on the couch. The camera caught the statue moving on its own, and even a TV almost fell on Greg's head out of nowhere. This cursed statue of Catskill Crown is still with Greg and Dana, safely locked away from human contacts. Number 4. The Unlucky Mummy. The Egyptian civilization and its history are full of amazing stories and mysterious artifacts, especially their mummies. In ancient Egypt, the priests mummified the dead so that they could descend to the underworld. Many a time these mummies or objects related to them bear curses upon themselves. Even going near these objects can bring severe misfortune to us. But what if one of these objects were allegedly the reason behind a well-known catastrophe? The unlucky mummy is not a mummy. It is a lid of missing coffin of a priestess of Amen-Ra found in Thebes in the early 20th century. Few days after its discovery, some workers who were part of the archaeological team died of mysterious reasons. These archaeologists then decided to take it to the museum in London. After a few paranormal encounters with the guards and caretaker, the authority decided to move it to a museum in New York City, USA. It boarded the ship on 10th April 1912. 4 days later, the ship struck an iceberg and went down with many passengers. The mummy survived. Is this story kind of familiar to you? Then you are right. I am talking about none other than the Titanic. Myths say that the curse of this coffin lid was the reason behind the ultimate destiny of Titanic. What do you think? Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. Number 3. the Goddess of Death statue. In the 19th and 20th centuries, archaeologists have excavated various kinds of objects which have fascinated the modern world. The Middle East has always been a center of prehistoric history because it has been the cradle of many early civilizations. One of these many Middle Eastern prehistoric foundings was a 5500-year-old cruciform statue. The statue was the Goddess of Death statue found in 1878 in Lemba, Cyprus. Although the documents state its date of discovery, the names of the archaeologists behind the excavation remain unknown. But the eeriest part of the history is the fact that it brings death to wherever it goes. Lord Elephant was the first ever owner of the statue during British rule in Cyprus. Within 6 years after it arrives at its house, Lord Elephant and all his family members passed away under mysterious circumstances. The owner, Ivory Menucci, and his family also had the same fate within 4 years. The third owner, Lord Thompson Noel, faced the same curse. The last owner of the statue was Sir Alan Beaverbrook. Shortly after acquiring it, Beaverbrook, along with his wife and 2 daughters, also passed away. His remaining 2 sons donated it to the Royal Museum in Edinburgh. The curator who handled it also passed away within a year, and now the statue sits inside a glass case away from any human contact. Number 2. The Iceman. Just a couple of minutes ago, we were talking about mummies, but not all of them are from Egypt or mummified by humans. Otzi, or the Iceman, is an example of both. In 1991, 2 German tourists on their trek of Otztal Alps on the borders of Austria and Italy discovered a mummy buried beneath the snow at an elevation of 3210 meters. At first they thought it was the dead body of another fellow hiker. Later on, an autopsy discovered that the body was around 5400 to 5100 years old. Researchers found an arrowhead embedded in Otzi's left shoulder and have concluded that someone murdered him. So, this was the history of artifact. Now let's look into the curse. Otzi is allegedly a reason behind the death of many linked to its discovery or research work. Now it's kept in an enclosure for both its own and other safety reasons. Our information on this mummy fell short due to its mysterious and obscure origins. Number 1. The Devil's Bible. Medieval Europe was a place of many mysteries and legends. No one knows how many secrets do the churches, monasteries and castles hold inside them. One of such artifacts is the Codex Gigas, or the Devil's Bible. Its story began in Benedictine monastery in Bohemia, now a part of the Czech Republic. Hermann the Recluse was a monk who lived in the monastery in the 12th century AD. The authority had found him as a heretic and decided to execute him. Hermann begged them for their pardon in exchange, for which he would write a book that would glorify the monastery throughout the history of humanity. He took an oath to complete it within a night, but that night, after writing the 7th page, Hermann had given up. The desperate monk had supposedly made a deal with the devil, who helped him. To be grateful to the devil, Hermann had even done a full-page illustration of the devil, containing the complete Latin Bible and many other popular medieval reference works such as the Josephus Antiquities of the Jews and the De Bello Iudaco, Isidore of Civile's Encyclopedia Etymologiae, the Chronicle of Cosmas of Prague, an early version of the Ars Medicinae compilation of treatises, and 2 books by Constantine the African. But the very fact that the devil had been a co-writer of this book makes it pretty cursed. In the 15th century, the monastery fell in the Hussite Revolution. Then Emperor Rudolf II made it a part of his collection in Prague. But Rudolf faced the inevitable misfortune. At the end of the 30 Years' War, the Swedish army destroyed the library and took the book. The Swedish kept it in the Swedish Royal Library. Even there it has proved to be cursed, as in 1697 the library suffered from a fire. In modern times it resides in the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm. So, it was our list of top 5 cursed artifacts. What is your opinion on these? Don't forget to write them down in the comments.